What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and we haven't done a game review in quite some time, so I'm bringing this one to you today, or whenever I upload it, of course. Let's talk about the Dead Space remake. I know I'm a little late to the party. Look, I like to take my time with games, man. I'm not trying to rush through them, although I will say I was kind of rushing through the ending of this game so I could play Hogwarts Legacy, and I know I hate doing that. I hate rushing through a game just so I can play another one, but Hogwarts Legacy, I booted up, I played a few hours of that, and I'm like, man, I gotta get invested in this world. But before I can do that, I have to finish Dead Space. And so I did. I beat it. Actually, I beat it as I'm recording this video. I beat it this morning. I knew that was the first thing I want to do when I woke up today, since I was off and I had some time. And then I knew that I wanted to make a review shortly after, since it is fresh. So, with that being said, if you're new to the channel, if you wouldn't mind liking this video and subscribing for more content like this one, and yeah. We are going to dive balls deep into the Dead Space remake. So, first things first, what I will say is that I love survival horror games, and I didn't really know what to expect from this, because, and I know it's going to be a shocker, because, I've played a lot of games in my short 26 years, but I have never played Dead Space. I've always booted it up. I've always played around with it, especially in like that first mission or so. Never really got far. Never really learned Isaac's story or his relationship with Nicole or anything like that. The unologist, I think that's what it's pronounced. Never really got into that lore or anything growing up. And, I didn't really know what I was missing. I heard Dead Space is one of the best survival horror games, but I just never taken the time to play it. So the remake comes out, and I'm immediately excited because this gives me a chance to see what all the hype about. And I'm proud to say I get the hype, and it's a damn good remake. Probably one of the best remakes since the Resident Evil 2 remake. Because obviously right now, I think the Resident Evil 2 remake is the, I guess you could say, quote-unquote, shining star of these remakes thus far. By the way, that sounded really country. These remakes. Yeah, this remake is special. It's something special. And, I will say it did drag towards the end of the game. But I think for all you guys who have played the original, you probably know what I'm talking about. And you're probably saying, well, if you played the original, you probably would know already. Well, I don't. And I just felt the ending did kind of drag on a bit, especially after you leave the Ishimura. But anyway, with that being said, I just want to go over some things that I really, really liked about the game, some things that I found okay and things I didn't like. I'm not really going to have a real professional way of doing this. I'm just going to kind of talk with you. I hope I'm not going to be too all over the place. But anyway, I just want to kind of give my general thoughts on it since I just finished the game. So, with that being said, let's start with the most important thing I am impressed with, and that is the atmosphere. The atmosphere is unmatched. It's hard to pinpoint a better atmosphere than Resident Evil 2, to be honest with you. Like, Resident Evil 2 had that iconic police station with all the doors and all the different keys, and how the architecture of the inside of the actual police station itself, it was just, man, it's something ripped out of like a Renaissance type of like piece of work almost. You know what I mean? Like, it was almost it's so artistic with how everything is designed. It's like, man, I can't believe a police station exists like this. And it's so massive. Like, what do you need all these rooms for, And so I thought the same thing with Dead Space Remake. Now, what I will say is I thought that the Ishimura, obviously, I don't think is as iconic as Resident Evil 2 Remake. And that's just my opinion. Listen, you might think differently, and that's fine. I think it also comes down to I'm not huge into space games or space lore of any kind. Really, up until like 2 years ago, I didn't care. I could care less for like Star Wars, right? I just didn't really care for stories that were based in space. But upon beating the Callisto Protocol, and I beat that in December when it came out, and then I beat it again on New Game Plus, and I platinumed the game. I really enjoyed it. I thought that game, and then, by the way, I have a review for that. I might pin that in this video. I liked the game, and so and I knew that the same fundamentals were used in Dead Space. And when they said the Dead Space remake was coming, I was super excited for because I liked Callisto. I didn't see any reason why I wouldn't like Dead Space, and I heard Dead Space was even better. So I'm all for it. And like I said, I think for the most part, I do agree. I think I do prefer Dead Space in a lot of ways. Atmosphere, like I said, is great. And I will say it's on par with Resident Evil 2 remake. I will also say I think it's on par with Callisto Protocol. I think Callisto Protocol gets a lot of hate, but I think I love the atmosphere in all three of these games, and Dead Space remake is no different. I think Dead Space remake is hauntingly beautiful, and it's so high tech and it's so space, I guess you could say. And I love it. I've grown to love the space genre and the environments that settle around it. So atmosphere is A1. I don't really have a problem with atmosphere. I think it's very iconic. The Ishimura itself as a character. I love when an environment can tell a story without any dialogue. So I'm all for that. Let's get down to combat. And that's the next thing I really want to talk about because I have a love-hate relationship with the combat. More love than hate, I would say. But I do have some things with it. Now, all the guns, they have decent feedback. Now, I will say I do think that the shotgun, or the force gun rather, is kind of weak. I will say. Like, it looks like it has a lot of impact. It sounds good. But very rarely did I ever kill the things I'm shooting in one or two hits. It took like 5 rounds or something like that, and I thought that was kind of weird considering and I don't expect going around just one shotting everything. However, when you give me something like a shotgun, I expect it to eradicate my enemies a lot quicker, and I felt that the plasma cutter was probably the best gun in the game. Like, I think there's an achievement. I'm playing on PS5. But I believe there's an achievement that you can beat the whole game with the plasma cutter, and I can believe it. It's the best gun in the game, no doubt about it. Yes, now, well, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Upon saying that, I just remembered. No, it's not the best gun in the game. The best weapon in the game is the flamethrower. The flamethrower got me out of so many tight spots. It's ridiculous. Just this the wide range of you can hit your enemies, where you can hit R1 or RB, and you can shoot out a fire wall to keep enemies from getting too close to you. It was very satisfying to use, and honestly, towards the end of the game, I was using the flamethrower the most. That and the plasma cutter, because the plasma cutter, the reason why I was saying it's definitely tied with the best gun in the game is you can make more precision shots with the plasma cutter as opposed to the pulse rifle or the razor shooter, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't know, the Ripper, I think is what it is. That's what it is. So the combat feels decent enough. I will say I do wish it had a little bit more impact. And like I said, the force gun, be it it's a shotgun variety, I just wanted to have a little bit more impact when it came to actual damage dealt. Now I know what you're about to say. Well, you can upgrade the damage. Okay, yeah, you can, but I just expect the force gun to already be powerful enough to where it needs very minimal upgrades to be one of the best weapons in the game. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the combat. All in all, combat is fun. I do wish that you could use the quote unquote force or your stasis and like your telekinesis more in combat, in a sense where you can you can actually grab an enemy with your telekinesis and sling them, kind of how you can do in Callisto Protocol. Now, maybe you can do that if you upgrade your telekinesis enough. But I had mine pretty maxed out, and I was not able to do that, or maybe I just wasn't doing it right. I don't know. I know the times that I tried to do it, I was getting swarmed, so maybe that was a lot of it too. But I would have liked to be able to grab my enemies more, not just pieces. Like if you shoot the arm and where it's dangling off an enemy's body, you can grab it and throw it at somebody. But as far as picking up an enemy and throwing it at somebody, you're not really able to do that. And I think that would have been a lovely addition to the combat. The stasis where you can freeze your enemies in front of you. Obviously, I used the shit out of that. I thought that was very, very useful, especially against these big brutes that would come at you who were like bullet sponges. And while we're on that subject, the back half of this game, and I would say probably starting with chapter 9, because I think there's 12 chapters altogether. Starting with chapter 9, these enemies are very, very bullet spongy. almost to the point where it's like, okay, like I'm getting a little frustrated because like the Callisto Protocol, they have very, very bullet spongy enemies as well. But I noticed on my second playthrough, I was playing on maximum security, so I was playing on the hardest difficulty at the time. I was able to take out my enemies a lot faster, even towards the end. Here it just felt like I was like going through ammo so quickly, and I got to a point, man, where I didn't have much ammo. I was going into places and I couldn't find any. I kept getting like stasis packs. I kept getting health. Like at one point, I had like 6 health stems in my inventory, but like no pulse cutter ammo. And I'm like, dude, I need ammo, man. I can have all the health in the world, but if I don't have weapons, I'm gonna die. So that was a little frustrating. But at that point, you got to use weapons that you don't normally want to use. Obviously, I love using the pulse cutter, like I said. The pulse rifle, when you had ammo for it, even though you went through it really quick, that's always a fun one. And then I like the Ripper. The Ripper is very useful because you can shoot a blade, and then you could also hold the blade onto an enemy and just slice them up to death. And the line gun, I thought that was a good one too. So it had some good ones in there. I'd put the force gun on that. The only thing is, I just thought it was just not as powerful as it should be. The story to me, I just didn't. It wasn't really hitting much, man. I will say this, like I leading into this game, I heard that the story is, pretty damn good. It's investing and all that. I didn't really feel that way my whole playthrough. Now, like I said, the last few hours I was playing the game, I was really just trying to beat it so I could play Hogwarts Legacy. So maybe this isn't really a good way for me to go about it. However, I just felt the story was just okay. I honestly, I compared it to the story of Callisto, and Callisto took a lot of beats from Dead Space, so that's why it's so similar. But I just didn't really feel that the story was that impactful. I didn't really care as much. I did find Nicole interesting, and then you got the big twist at the end where she's been dead this whole time. Spoiler alert, by the way. And that was okay, but I still just didn't quite get the story. I was just like, whatever. And when it was all said and done, I was just like, okay, you know what I mean? Music is obviously as good. It's got some really good musical cues at certain parts. Jump scares, has really high pitched noises, and yeah, I mean it just feels like haunting. This music feels there's real terror. No matter what room you go into, there's a possibility you can get your face eaten. So all in all, I enjoyed the Dead Space remake. I think it's a damn good remake. I had to give it a rating. I give it an 8 out of 10. I could easily give it a 9, but I'm going to give it an 8 because I think it's definitely a very good game. And I enjoyed it. I love survival horror, and I want more of it. And hell, I'm telling you right now, EA and Motive, if you guys want to remake Dead Space 2 and 3, people will buy it, and that's starting with me. So it's a good game, and I recommend it if you haven't gotten it already. I know I'm late to the show, so most of you probably already finished it. But what do you guys think about the Dead Space remake? And did I make any good points? I know I kind of rambled on there. Is there anything I was missing? Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I'm all for this genre, so keep them coming. And yeah, Dead Space was a decent time. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.